After the Battle of Flora Port, we snatch the Ring of the Sage Lord. Furthermore, on the Fell Dragon side, Vale commands Zephyr to give their ring to her, and it turns out regular Vale had regained control, and she uses this opportunity to throw the Ring of the Holy Knight back to us as the Elusian forces retreat, inviting Zephyr's indignation and promise to ensure regular Vale never wakes up again. Meanwhile, Alea's forces celebrate the return of our two Yggdralian emblems, who apologize for their failure back in Chapter 10. Despite their new advantage, they don't give chase immediately, and prioritize helping the civilians in Flora Port before returning to the Somniel, where Alfred provides us the worst meal we've had to date. For the well, I go for a 4-star upgrade chance for the first time, then shuffle around the emblem rings, giving Leaf to Panette, Lynn to Fogado, Sigurd to Louis, and Lucina to Ivy. Alir and Byleth, Jean and Corin have their C-rank bond conversations, while Panette and Lynn have their A-rank. Moreover, we have Ivy, Fogado, and Seedal all beat up or get beaten up by Sigurd to get their bonds to level 5 with him, so they can inherit his canter skill, which I have them equip immediately as to not make the mistake I did with Merrin and Louis in the last chapter. Finally, we get to the support conversations, where first we learn that Rosado is quite the artist, to the point where Alir is even awaiting his next piece, so Rosado just invites Alir to hike with him to the next scenery he plans to draw. Alir provides Jean with medicinal herbs as their B-rank conversation about family resonated with him. Jean then notices a scratch on Alir, and as he's treating the wound, he concludes that travelling with Alir was a good idea. Panette continues teaching Alir about brawling and reminds him that the speed stat is very important, before the conversation shifts to Panette's past, how she isn't a noble and had parents that cared not for her, running away to a solitary life. Alir becomes more intrigued by her pre-Tamara past, and Panette indulges him. Panette asks Goldmary to teach her how to cook for Tamara's sake, and Goldmary agrees. Tamara and Ivy have their camping trip, of which Ivy is not enjoying due to her fear of ghosts, and Tamara's solution is to sing them away, and somehow convinces Ivy to do the same. Fogado and Tamara have a chill sibling conversation, with Tamara letting out how, back in Solm, she hardly spends time with Fogado, so she's happy now because she gets to hang out with her sibling, and Fogado feels the same. With all that done, we set sail to chase the Elusian forces. Sombron is appalled that his subordinates have lost multiple emblem rings, and as for Vale, Zephyr is having trouble controlling her, of which Sombron mercifully provides an enchanted helmet to aid her spell. The topic then shifts to the possibility of another one of Sombron's children still existing, based on what Vale has told Zephyr, and Sombron is none too pleased about that idea and commands Zephyr to bring their corpse to him. Back with Alir and co, they plan on getting information from the Elusian populace when they land, and despite what Vale has done thus far, Alir can't help but worry about her. Vander reports that 2 Elusian ships are approaching with hostile intentions, and we prepare for battle on this game's obligatory boat map, where we are flanked by the Elusian forces led by a Bime who has leveled up significantly and reclassed from an armoured class to a berserker since our last encounter in Chapter 3. Both enemy ships have a magic artillery and a treasure chest each. Equipment wise, I give Seedal the flashing fist art we got from Hyacinth last chapter. Despite taking more damage, the speed boost more than makes up for it, so he gets doubled less. And that's the only important change as I just start the map. Alfred enlightens us about the flame cannon on our ship, which any character can use to damage units and burn the terrain in a 2-tile radius from the target. Then we are clued in to a recruitable character located on the right side who's grown weary of Elusia's state. Then we have our goal of defeating a Bime. I start turn 1 by Astra storming the magic artillery to our left and following it up with a cannon shot, only to find it can't deal fatal hits, meaning it's more useful as a deterrent, and Jean uses the Vein of Flames to help with that. Meanwhile, Clan lures in a few enemies from the right, and a thief makes their presence known, and we are clued in on their escape point to the southwest of the map. Turn 2, at the minimum we take out all the units that have boarded our ship, and we use the cannon to burn the boarding planks to the northeast. After a goddess dance, we send in Merrin solo to the west ship to preemptively start weakening the enemies there. And don't worry, she has Draconic Hex equipped this time. Alir takes a heavy blow from the magic artillery, and the thief opens the chest on the left ship, obtaining a speed wing. And now we have Wyvern and Griffin Knight approaching from the north and south to deal with on turn 3. Fogado snipes a Griffin at the south. Alchrist uses the cannon to delay the east side sages, while Clan and Panette block off the hero. In the north, Louis engages and overrides the flyers from behind, and is then followed by an L fire from an engaged Jean to freeze them with Dreadful Aura, setting up an easy place for an engaged Temera to use Great Ether. Merrin returns to our ship, then an engaged Ivy bondage shields Fogado and Seadal. Unfortunately, there was a remaining hero on the east ship that slipped past Louis and takes out Clan. Going back, the only change I made on the next timeline was to have Louis take out that hero instead of overriding the flyers, and we successfully make it to turn 4. Temera slams Great Ether, and the cannon is used at the northeast as our immediate threats are at the west. We take out 3 of the enemies from the southwest, Panette shoots down the lone Wyvern Knight in the south, Jean utilizes Dreadful Aura to freeze the Berserkers at the northwest, then after being refreshed, does the same with the northern flyers, this time with death. And with the remaining units' actions, there's only 1 Berserker left at the north end. Despite all this, I accidentally left Alchrist exposed, and our Cannoneer gets flanked by 2 sages. Next time around, I had Ivy use Bondage Shield on Alchrist instead, and he dodges one of the attacks, so the other sage ends up shooting Panette. On turn 5, the cannon's last ammunition is used to ward off the right side again, and everyone else clears off the onboard enemies with Merrin rushing back to the western ship to decommission the magic artillery, while Fogado and Alir take the southern Emblem entry tiles, leading into Merrin getting screwed over by good ol' Fire Emblem RNG. And to fix this, I have Ivy switch her healing target to Merrin, and now we have the remaining flyers from the north and south approach, whilst more Wyvern and Griffin Knights reinforce the enemy from the west. Turn 6, Merrin retreats once again because of the reinforcements, and thankfully we have just enough firepower to take out the flyers at the north and south this turn. After making those attacks, I check my units that can still be attacked and notice that Alchrist can be doubled to death by one of the heroes to the east, because he's encumbered by the weight of the Radiant Bow. Thankfully, this is an easy fix as I just travel back to before we finished off the North Flyers, and have Jean swap Alchrist's equipped weapon to a lighter one with a trade action, so Louis gets smacked around instead. Turn 7, the thief from earlier is now just 1 turn away from escaping, and I pondered on whether I should let the Speedwing go or Time Crystal back to make a more aggressive play to the west, and as I was giving the recruitable character the free staff from the convoy, it dawned on me that I can use that to delay the thief. So I travel back to near the end of turn 6 and have Alir give that free staff to Ivy instead, as once we're back on turn 7, Ivy can use that staff as intended whilst also being able to canter to safety, and Alir can still recruit the Sage Linden this turn for a +1 in unit advantage, who I just give a recover staff to this time, while everyone clears out the onboard enemies once again, with an engaged Fogado setting up illusions to distract some of the flyer reinforcements, and having Merrin and an engaged Louis board the western ship for the same purpose. Alir takes another artillery to the face, and the boss starts making their way towards us. Turn 8, on the western ship, Ivy freezes the thief again, and we prioritize eliminating the last few flyers, while for the east ship, Panette hops over to eventually pick up the treasure chest. Conveniently, Clan can safely initiate on the boss with an Elf Thunder from our ship. Fogado and Panette get shot at, and now it's turn 9. I start by having Jean use the Vein of Flames twice around the boss. The first time is to help Panette so she's safe after the east artillery is shut down, and the second is to prevent the enemy from reaching Jean or Clan. Back on the west ship, the thief is finally on their own, so Fogado starts off by Astra Storming, and Ivy swoops in to loot the Speedwing. The boss finally boards our ship, and we're now on turn 10. Prinny attempts to dispatch the sage threatening her and makes a fatal miss that prompts me to burn a crystal charge to restart the turn. This time I have Jean use the Vein of Flames on the boss again, and we still need time for our army to regroup and reorganize. Jean is then refreshed and sent over to the right to heal Prinny, so I can have her open the treasure chest instead to receive a second seal, which probably wasn't worth it. The boss ends up attacking Merrin, only to get poisoned, and now it's turn 11, where we mow down the last few enemies on the east ship and break the boss's revival stone, before finishing the map on turn 12 with the Twin Strike Engage attack.
If this is war, so be it!
I deserve no less.